Woo! It's the boy, Bubba, let's coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba, let's. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me.
Welcome back, Bubba Bunch, to another edition of the Bubba Let's Sports Podcast. It is episode 205, joined once again by Kevin for the first time this week. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of not just the games, but NFL news in general. So, Kevin, first of all, how you doing, bud?
Pretty good, man. You know, apparently I missed a very, very big breaking news that you had to share with me right before this podcast started.
Bubba Let's breaking news, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, I was mind blown because I knew this guy was gonna get a job, but I didn't think he was gonna be there. So we'll get into that later. But other than that, it's been good. This week has been. Oh, there was one piece of news that I can't wait to get into.
Actually, I don't even know exactly which one you're talking about, but
Oh, you know which one? It's the one I always talk about.
okay.
Bum team.
That's true. Yeah. So before we get into it, I want to thank the 2 newest subscribers that we have on the YouTube channel. We are now back to 89. Oh, I want to get to 100 so bad, but everything's going really well. We're going to make some improvements to the podcast too. It'll be nice looking very soon.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm really excited for that. So before we get into the coaching, hirings, firings around the NFL, we never got your opinions on the wildcard weekend games.
Yes.
I did my review on that, but I want to get your thoughts on which game stood out to you. Obviously, Cleveland's going to be one of them.
Yeah. So I guess to get rid of the obvious, you know, I actually, to a certain extent, called it. I was talking to my friends before the game, and they told me, they asked me, what is your hot take for these playoffs? And I told them straight up, I was like, dude, honestly, I think Cleveland could literally shut out. Well, not shut out, but I think Cleveland could blow out the Steelers. I said that in the chat, but then I prefaced it by saying, but I don't know anymore because of the situation that they had. I thought that, if they had if they had everybody, I honestly thought they had a really, really good chance of blowing out the Steelers.
No, they're flukes. They're frauds.
They're frauds. So I was like, all right, well, we'll see what happens. And then 28-0 first quarter. Oh my God. Beautiful game. Baker Mayfield did not play out of his mind, but Baker Mayfield played very, very well, very efficiently. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, boom and zoom. What do you expect? The defense for Cleveland in the first half played really, really well. I was surprised because we always labeled them as a bend don't break defense, but they played pretty damn well.
No, they did what they always did this entire season when they won games, which was they relied on turnovers to get their offense in a really good spot. And thanks to Big Ben and that offense, they helped a tremendous amount. Definitely. Even on the first fucking play, that ball went over Big Ben's head, and I said to myself, well, you couldn't have started any worse if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers.
When that play happened, it literally was a deja vu moment from the 2015 Super Bowl. Oh no, or was it 2014? 2014-2015 Super Bowl when it was the Seahawks and the Broncos. And that was the first play. First play. When I saw that happen, I looked at my dad and I was like, what is happening? It's going to happen again. It wasn't 43-8, but it was 28-0 first quarter. So very, very much deja vu with that. But yeah, Browns, I'm very happy they won. I'm glad the Steelers are out. Bunch of frauds. To me, the one game that personally did stand out in my mind, because unfortunately I didn't watch the Saturday games. I only watched the highlights because I was at work.
You didn't miss much.
Yeah. But the one game that really stood out to me, and I am so happy, I'm really happy Lamar got his first win. Lamar has been scrutinized his whole entire 3-year career so far, just because he can't win in a playoff game. Now, to a certain extent,
he's only had 3.
Yes, to a certain extent, I give him a pass for that AFC wildcard game against the Chargers. His first real playing season.
Yeah.
I don't think he was in the right position yet. I don't think he was in the right mindset. I don't think the Ravens had yet accommodated for his style of play yet. So, it is what it is. It's a loss. He did play bad, but I don't put it all on him. Last year, though, there's no excuse for that. There was literally no excuse for that.
No,
I mean,
they were the best team in football at that point.
Absolutely. So, but it's back-to-back years. He was getting scrutinized. I get it, but there's a couple things that stood out to me in this game real quick, and I'll mention them real quick so we can go on to the next thing. But Lamar played really, really great. It's not surprising he's Lamar, but the fact that he played great under all that screen under pressure tells a lot about how he's progressed so far as a player. Now, the other thing that caught my attention, I personally feel like this game, the Baltimore Ravens versus the Tennessee Titans, I wouldn't say that Mike Vrabel got outcoached by John Harbaugh, but what happened with Derrick Henry? What happened? If you want to pull out the excuse, it's hard to run when there's 9 men in the box. True. Fair enough. Why wasn't there a counter to that? Mike Vrabel's a pretty damn good head coach. I have a lot of respect, and I have immense respect for Mike Vrabel. I think we both have the same sentiment about Mike Vrabel. But, dude, come on. I mean, yeah, A.J. Brown was doing great. Corey Davis was completely shut out. But the Titans' offense just seems so slow. Why? Because Derrick Henry wasn't going. If you look at the games that Derrick Henry did not pop off this season, the Titans struggled a little bit. Maybe later on in the game, Ryan Tannehill put it on. That's fine, whatever. But they just seemed off. This is not the Tennessee Titans we've seen the whole entire season. And, obviously their defense was garbage, like how it always is. No surprise there. But I'm just so surprised that Derrick Henry only gained 40 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I'm not going to completely put it all on Mike Vrabel because, the offensive coordinator has to say something at least at one point in the game. But, man, I don't know what else to call it. I honestly think John Harbaugh outcoached Mike Vrabel. I really do. So that was my biggest surprise this weekend. When I saw the highlights of the other games, you're right. There really wasn't anything big that I missed. Besides that whole controversial call against the Bills and the Colts. But either way, I still think the Bills are the hottest team in the NFL right now. So it doesn't matter. The Washington and Tampa Bay game, that one was very surprising, but it was kind of like what I've always said all season, where I hate the Bucs because they are so talented and they are barely winning games that they should be destroying teams at.
That's a perfect example. Like, I felt watching that game, I'm like, they're doing enough.
Yeah,
doing what they need to do.
And also, absolute shout out to Tyler Heineke. My God, I wouldn't say he deserves a starting spot, but he deserves a second look because he literally gave it his all out there.
Yeah,
Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, mind you, separated shoulder, came back in and finished the game. Immense respect for that man. But yeah, other than that, I think everything else was pretty standard. Tampa winning, Buffalo winning, Cleveland, I called it personally. Baltimore, I'm very happy for. We all knew that Chicago was not going to be Chicago. I mean, they were coming in hot, but
I was rooting for Chicago.
I
felt it. I felt it. If Wims doesn't drop that touchdown, I think it's a different game.
You know what? You do have a point. It could have been a different game if that was, because that plays a game changer. So I agree with you. But I really didn't think that Mitchell Trubisky or the Chicago Bears was going to really outduel the Saints. And then I'm blanking on the other game, the middle Saturday game.
Yes, the doesn't matter game of the Rams and the Seahawks.
Oh yes. All I'm gonna say about that game is this: Seattle Seahawks, you absolutely collapsed the second half of the season, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. So we'll leave it at that. Doesn't matter. Rams are going to get waxed. So it is what it is. But other than that, very typical weekend of football. Everything that I thought was going to happen happened. But the two that stand out the most, the Baltimore game and also the Cleveland game. So,
Yeah. You sound very gracious in talking about those games, especially the Cleveland game.
It's because...
Well, I mean, you talked about how the Rams are going to get waxed. Others would say they're going to get clapped. And Chase Claypool is becoming my least favorite player in the league.
So I was very gracious about the Steelers and the Browns game because I feel like we've said enough on this podcast for people to understand our viewpoint on the Steelers. They were a bunch of frauds. I mean, how do you lose to Washington and then lose 3 straight?
They went 1-5 in their last 6 games.
Yeah, that's a joke. You're an absolute joke. And
or 1-4 in their last 5 games. I'm sorry.
I think it was 1-4.
Yeah, because they ended 12-4. The Seahawks ended at 12-4 in the regular season. I'd say they're the equivalent of each other in every conference. I'm like, we give them all this hype, and at the very end, it's kind of like, well, it's the Steelers, it's the Seahawks. Like, they're good, but they're not great.
Yeah,
they're talented, but they're not going to do anything.
Also, there's one more thing I would like to say, and this goes out to personally my friends. Stop talking about DK Metcalf and comparing him to Megatron. There is no correlation. You better stop it. That is disrespectful. I got so upset when I started seeing those comparisons.
I can see the vision of why you would make those comparisons.
The vision, yes. DK is a stud. He can grow to be that. But right away, no. Stop it. No. Stop it. I thought it was so disrespectful. But you know why I'm bringing this up? Because Megatron wouldn't have let Jalen Ramsey be his daddy. In all three matchups this season, Jalen Ramsey has owned Metcalf. Absolutely owned him. Absolutely owned him. And if you notice, the first play that Metcalf is not on Ramsey, 50-yard bomb.
True.
You know? So it's like...
Well, I mean, even D. Williams had himself a nice play with that pick 6 on DK Metcalf. Because he read the ball. And I'm like, God damn, that was nice. I mean, that is a perfect read on the ball. But I would agree. I mean, other than that bomb for DK, he was frustrated. It was something that he was
visibly frustrated. Even in the they put some of those like frustrated moments in the highlights. That's how big of a matchup this was between DK and Jalen. So yeah, Jalen is just I don't particularly like Jalen. I think he is a diva. That's why I was gonna say Dalen, I guess. But you gotta put respect on his name.
If you back it up, then yeah.
If you back it up, that's fine. So yeah. Other than that, for next week or this upcoming week per se, Green Bay is going to the NFC Championship. Now the other one,
third time's a charm for the Bucks.
I don't think the Saints are going to be able to pull it out.
Really?
There's something about this game. There's something about this game. And I love Drew Brees with all my heart. I love him so much. But there's something about this game. I have a feeling about this game that I don't think the Saints are going to win. I don't. It is, besides the fact of, it is extremely, extremely hard. And you can look up the stats to beat a team 3 times in a row in a season. But I don't know, man. There's something about this game. There's something. I just don't think the Saints are going to pull it out. I don't. I think it's going to be a very close game, but I don't think they're going to pull it out. I think Tampa's going to go to championship.
I mean, that would be nice to see because that way Green Bay can redeem that one huge loss they had at the regular season, which was against Tampa. I mean, that was an embarrassing loss for them. Other than that, you can't really name an embarrassing game that Green Bay had. They lost to Minnesota, and they
had a worrying game against Carolina.
Correct, yeah. But it was the Tampa game that really was stuck with them, and it did help them throughout the rest of
Yeah.
the season. It was a reality check. Like I remember saying that weekend, I was like, this is a good point for Green Bay to be at, saying we're not perfect, we got to work on some things still. So
Yeah, I hope it's made clear that I'm not saying this in 100% confidence, because the Saints could easily come out and win. You know, the Saints are a great team. I just like I said, I just there's a feeling inside me that I don't think the Saints are going to pull this out.
well,
But
I think if the Saints can get, let's say 3 or 4 sacks on Tampa,
yeah,
Saints win the game, because it's all
Yeah.
about the pressure. If you don't allow Tom Brady to get the ball over the top, if your safeties with Gardner Johnson, with with some of their really great cornerbacks like Lattimore,
well, Lattimore, man, yeah,
if you don't allow that ball to go over you to Antonio Brown or to Mike Evans, there is no strategy for the Bucs to win. And you're putting yourself in the same situation that you did in the first 2 games against New Orleans. Was like they're not going to let you get that deep ball, so you're going to limit the amount of points that they're going to score. And then Drew Brees with Alvin Kamara can just run down the clock, time of possession. Like, Drew Brees doesn't look like he has it anymore. I still feel like he's a really good quarterback, but it's not that it factor anymore for me. But
yeah.
I feel like that reliance on Alvin Kamara is going to be important.
For sure. Drew Brees has de-elevated, I guess, or de-escalated. There we go. He has de-escalated back to a
he's
to
old,
a
man.
game manager. But you know, it's nothing. It's not a knock. You know, it's just he's older. You know, he's getting injured. But yeah, on the NFC side, I think that's what's going to be. The AFC side, look, I think the Cleveland and Kansas City game is going to be a really, really good game. Just because Cleveland is on fire with their offense. I mean, you know, Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs are the Chiefs, whatever. But you know what? I do think the Cinderella run is gonna end here.
But what if it isn't?
Okay,
What?
if it isn't,
What if it isn't?
if it isn't, it is going to be okay. If the Browns were to somehow beat the Chiefs, this is going to feel exactly like 2017 when the Cubs won the World Series for the first time in over 100 years. And I am all for that. All for it. 100%. But I just don't think it's going to happen, dude.
But what if it does? Look, I'm not even like thinking that this is a competitive game, because I feel like Cleveland's already won they've gotten over the hump. They finally won a playoff game in 18 years. They shut up the Steelers, even though Juju and Chase won't shut up. But the amount of hate and trolls that are going to be in Chase Claypool's and Juju's mentions if the Browns beat the Chiefs.
Oh my God, it's going to be insane.
I need it. It. I want to see it, because this guy is still talking crap. He's like, they're going to get clapped next week, and they weren't gracious in winning. Like, they didn't show respect. I'm like, you were dancing on logos and making TikToks in the locker room. What do you know about respect? Like, that's just all I want to see. Now, do I think the Chiefs are just going to beat the brakes off the Browns? I think so.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that's what I want to see.
I would love to see the Browns win this game, but I just don't think it's happened. The other game,
Very interesting.
very interesting. We both agree that the Bills are the hottest team in the NFL.
Not even
look,
close.
man,
But the
but look,
second hottest team in football.
But Lamar has been on fire for the past 2 months. On fire. And dude, you just don't know about this Baltimore team, you know? Because there's games where the Baltimore defense is just, they play lights out. Or they play just enough. But dude, I mean, come on, man. Lamar is just like a generational talent. You can never count him out for what he can do. So I think the best matchup is going to be what the Ravens can do, what the Ravens defense can do to limit that Stephon Diggs Josh Allen connection, because that connection is the most lethal in football right now.
You can't rely on that, because if that's your game plan, then Cole Beasley's going to drop 16 receptions for 120 yards.
And that's what I'm saying. It's going to be so interesting.
Yeah.
What are they going to do about him? What are they going to do about Diggs? What are they going to do about, because, you know, what if somehow they're able to like stop it just for a little bit? Dude, you have a dynamic running back in Devin Singletary. that can come out the flat. He always does it. Always does it.
They played really well. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, not only coming out of the backfield as far as runners and receivers, but their blocking was really good.
Yes,
They're really good. And for me, it's not even about that, because I don't think the Bills will be able to score 40 on them. It would be really impressive if they did, but I'm not expecting it. It's just, I feel like this is an expose of why the Ravens aren't the Super Bowl contender, is because Lamar Jackson doesn't trust his arm enough, and that they don't want to give him the ability to throw down the field. Like that first interception, or that only interception really, in the Ravens versus Titans game, like where he threw it down the field and it was off by like 10 yards. It was bad. It was really bad. But he settled down. He wasn't frustrated. That's where I'm like, okay, there is improvement with Lamar Jackson. But I'm saying, man, like, even if the Bills defense isn't as good at stopping the run, like we saw the Chiefs last year, like they didn't really dominate in any statistic on defense, but in the playoffs, they stepped up to the max. I mean, they were playing really good defensive football. So I feel like this can be the scenario with the Bills of like, look, they haven't been the best, but for one game, for 60 minutes, can you limit Lamar Jackson to throw down the field? Like you force him to throw down the field to Hollywood Brown? Because I feel like if you actually force that, there's no way that the Ravens win this football game. Mm-hmm. Because if their game plan is just to run all over the Bills like they did against the Titans, well, of course, like the Titans are going to allow that because they have one of the worst defenses in any playoff team. But the Bills are just physical. They're tenacious. They're going to make you feel like you can't run all over the field. Lamar Jackson probably could, but if you just maybe for a drive or two say, Lamar, you can't run it. You have to throw it down the field in order to beat us. Let Lamar do that. If he beats you with his arm, then damn, credit to Lamar Jackson. He actually is improving week in and week out.
For sure. I think if anything, when it comes to the actual matchup, this is probably the most interesting playoff game of this weekend. For sure.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Because do I care about Green Bay versus Los Angeles? Hell no. We got a bum right thumb for Jared Goff. We got Blake Bortles as our backup. Do you think Green Bay's scared of that?
No.
You think Jair Alexander is looking at that and saying, damn. No. Like that man is like, I'm ready to eat.
I think if anything, the only good thing that's going to come out of the Green Bay and LA Rams matchup is going to be Jalen on Devontae. Other than that, that's it.
I like that.
That's
I
it.
Like that. Hey,
but
Robert Tonyan, 3 touchdowns. Called it.
I would not doubt it. That man is a beast. He got snubbed. Evan Ingram, why?
Yeah.
Why?
That was a really bad pick.
That was bad.
Really bad.
Bad. Well, anyway, but yeah, so playoffs should be good this weekend.
I'll probably do a predictions, like a preview for tomorrow or tomorrow as of this recording. But to get more in depth with those matchups. As far as why we're really here. Our second half of the episode goes to the coaching firings and hirings of the week.
There's been a good amount.
There's been plenty, and there's
so
still yet to come. Yeah.
Yeah, so far.
Biggest one of today. It is official. Jacksonville hires Urban Meyer as their head coach. The future in coaching, the future in the quarterback position is Trevor Lawrence. And I'm really intrigued to see Urban Meyer back in the NFL with a rebuild of a team. I mean, that's like making an understatement.
Oh, no, yeah.
Look, I think there's only one factor that makes this move a really anxious one. It's not the Urban Meyer coaching ability, his staff, because he can bring a lot of people to Jacksonville and say, believe in this. I think he already has the players believing in this. And he has just a surmount of success in different programs, whether it was Ohio State, Florida, even at Utah for a year. Like all of these coaching jobs that he's had, I mean, success all around.
Yeah.
The only thing is that even in those times of success where he was dominating Ohio State, he only lost like 3 or 4 games when he was there. Or when he was at Florida, when he made Tim Tebow look like the greatest thing since Joe Montana. And even the year at Utah where he made them look like a BCS bowl contender. It's like the things that were wrong about those times were his health. Even through all that success, he had the problems with his headaches, his health itself. Like, he could not get out of bed sometimes. And to me, it's like, that's why he left coaching. That's why he took the job at Fox Sports and became an analyst. He's a great analyst. And I just don't know if I can trust his health, because even at the top of being at Florida or Ohio State, where he could possibly win a college football playoff championship every year. Well, you go from that and you're stressed and you have all these headaches, you have this anxiety, to go to Jacksonville where the stress is on you to make them competitive, to make them a winning program, to make them have some success that they haven't had in a good amount of time. So it's all on you and the quarterback that you choose number 1 overall in this year's draft. If it doesn't go well, that health, I just don't think holds up. Like, I don't want to see Urban Meyer have to deal with the headaches and those bad days where he's just not feeling good and he has to take the day off or something like that. Like, I just don't want to see it. That's just personally, like, I saw it at Ohio State as a Buckeye fan, and I don't want to see it now. So for me, it's like, if you couldn't, I wouldn't say necessarily handle the stress, but if your health was an issue, even at the top where you were the man in college football, well, now you're just another coach of a bad football team that needs to grow. How are you going to handle that and not still deal with the issues with your health, unless they are completely solved, which I don't think they are?
Yeah. So I mean, when it comes to the whole health issue, we talked about it recently. You talked about it more than I did. So I guess I won't get into that again. But this is the way, in my opinion, this is the way I see about the whole Urban Meyer thing. So I think that this Jacksonville position has to be one of the most interesting and the most exciting, like, vacancies in a long time.
Enticing is the word for
there
this
you go.
job.
Yes, enticing for sure.
Knowing that you're getting that level of Trevor Lawrence straight up, like number 1 overall, and then you already have a running back in James Robinson.
You have DJ Chark as wide receiver.
You have talent around the offense.
Yes.
It's the defense that has had the problems over the last few years now that you've moved on from Jalen Ramsey and all those great defensive players. Mm-hmm. And you're starting to see those young guys want to put it together, but it's going to take a long time. Mm-hmm. It's still, like, if you can get it done, it's going to be nice to watch.
Yeah, for sure. So the whole thing about this Jacksonville thing with Urban Meyer, look, Urban Meyer is a winning man. So that's what Jacksonville wants. I think because the fact that, there is already some, some things already set in stone, and they're, like we mentioned, with DJ Chark, James Robinson, you got the absolute future of the NFL coming out of the draft. Trevor Lawrence is you could possibly make the argument that he is probably the best college prospect coming out of the NCAA since John Elway, Joe Montana, Don Marino, people like that.
Well, I feel like there have been great ones coming out of college where you're like, they are for sure going to make it in the NFL.
For sure. So that's why I think this position is so enticing. It's so great. Now, I think, if anything, Urban Meyer, I think, in my opinion, besides the fact that he has to make, like you said, Jacksonville a competitive team again, which, is the basis of any kind of rebuild. I think the thing that Urban Meyer is going to have a very, very big, I guess, struggle with Jacksonville is he has to completely just rebuild the culture there in Jacksonville. I remember in 2016, literally all you would hear from Jacksonville, what would you hear? Duval, Saxonville. That's all you would hear. That was a great culture, man. It was such a great thing to see coming to Jacksonville where, that season, if you were to face Jacksonville, you are not scoring more than 20 points. You're not.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky to even get close to 20. Like, that's just how dominant the defense was. Unless you're a guy named Tom Brady. But anyway, it was such a good culture. Like, The fans were in on it. Duval, Saxonville, you would hear it all the damn time. And now I hardly even see Duval on Twitter. I definitely don't see Saxonville. You know, Leonard Fournette back then was, a pretty damn good running back. I hardly see anything about any running game there now until James Robinson this season. Everything about Jacksonville just fell apart. And I think when it comes to a coaching vacancy, especially a coaching vacancy that requires a rebuild, I think that's always been the hardest thing to do. And like you mentioned earlier, where, he completely just, absolutely turned around Utah for that one season. He made them look like a contender. That's great, but that's college. That's college football. There is a huge difference in the NFL. You want me to give you the best example? You know that guy, Nick Saban, that won his 6th national championship in 10, 11 years on Monday night? Guess what? He was a bum in the NFL. That's crazy to think, huh? That's insane.
No, and you brought up my my other point that I just completely forgot about. It's like when we talk about the differences between college, being given the top guy, like you are one of the best head coaches in all of college football, and now you're just a regular guy that's coaching the NFL team. Yeah. It's like in college, you are given 5-star recruits. You are given 4.5, 3.5. You are given everything because everybody wants to be a part of that program because you're involved. You don't get that luxury when you're in the NFL. Not everybody can just go to Jacksonville.
You technically get 1 5-star recruit. In layman's terms, every year each team gets 1 5-star recruit.
Not 30.
Not 30. Yeah, there's a difference.
Where your third string running back is going to be the next Ezekiel Elliott in 2 years when you can start him. Like that's not the luxury that you have in the NFL.
So now Urban Meyer has, Jesus Christ, a 6-star recruit. If you want to put that on Trevor Lawrence.
Sunshine.
Yeah, sunshine. Now, this is where it gets hard. He has to rebuild the culture. He has to rebuild that defense, my lord. How is he going to do it? Is Urban Meyer going to make a splash and be like, you know what? No, we're not messing around here. We're coming back into the first round. Or is he going to be smart about it? And is he going to strategically plan out rounds 2 through 7, my lord? I don't know how he's going to do it. To end off my point, so we can move on to the next coach. Do I think this is a great hire? Absolutely.
Yes,
Urban Meyer, absolutely great candidate to turn around an NFL team. My only, I wouldn't say issue, my only concern, and I agree with your concern about his health 100%, but my only concern, and I've always felt this way, rebuilding a culture is just as hard as rebuilding a team. Always. Always.
It's funny that you bring that up because I feel like that is my exact reasoning for this other hire being great, but there's also a lot of concern to it because I feel like the culture is what needs to change. It's the move that just happened literally less than an hour ago when we're recording this. Robert Saleh going to New York to be the next head coach of the Jets. Look, you got a lot to live up to because you're in the shoes now of Adam Gase, who set the bar really high. Yeah. So for me, this is an even better hire because I felt like Saleh has been needing to be a head coach in the NFL for many years. I thought, like just last year, I thought the Cowboys could have considered him a head coach in Dallas.
I thought it was disrespectful that he didn't get a head coaching job in general after last season.
Yes.
I thought it was very disrespectful. Yeah. But time has its course, I guess.
I think a lot of it has to do with he thought it was something special in San Francisco, and if it wasn't for the injuries, they probably would have contended for a Super Bowl this year. But I felt like he just wanted to stay there, kind of like Eric Bieniemy. Like he could have left a long time ago, but realizing that you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid that you can learn off of and be the coaching tree to that, you might want to stay another few years. But I feel like it was time for Saleh to move on. And I like this move a lot, and I'm probably with the Jets front office on this decision because it's a culture change. Look,
absolutely.
I don't think I was reading reports and all these stories about Robert Saleh, like his philosophies for defense and what he brings to the table. And it's a lot of it just really stood out to me of like, it's not the X's and O's, it's not the playbook. It's his attitude, it's his relationships with the players and the staff. This man, when he's energetic on the sideline, he's bumping into guys, just hyped. Like he's a jack dude, but he's just buffing. Like he just looks like one of the guys. And that is a hard thing to balance when you don't want to be a player's coach like Mike Tomlin and allow everything to happen and not be the strict old dude that's like, oh, we got to listen to this guy again. There's that fine line. And I feel like Salah is that good example of like, I'm going to beat your ass. I'm going to physically dominate you as far as what you do in practice and training camp, but I'm going to get you ready. And I know what's best for you because I've dealt with the Nick Bosa, even the Richard Sherman, like
Solomon Thomas,
Quan Alexander. Like he's dealt with a lot of great guys, and he's learned a lot from Kyle Shanahan on the offensive side as well. But Jets need a culture change. Those 2 wins against the Browns and the Rams, you saw a Jets team play better than both of those teams. Granted, Browns didn't have a receiver at all. The Rams probably underestimated them, and plus they're the most inconsistent team in all of football. But like they played hard in both of those games. I felt like
they really did.
They wanted to prove something. So now you bring in a guy that's gonna just give it his all for those players. Say, I'm going to believe in you like nobody else could. Like if he does end up with Sam Darnold, or if he wants to go with Justin Fields, whatever the case may be, that's on him. But I feel like this is not the X's and O's that makes this move great. It's he's going to go in there and say, I'm going to be strict on you, but I love the living shit out of you guys.
Yeah.
So for the next few years, we're ride or die.
Yeah. So I completely agree with every single thing you just said about Robert Saleh. I think he is in levels of, what would happen to the team. I agree that he is probably the more attractive hire other than Urban Meyer. But I agree with all your points. Now, while I have doubts, not doubts, but I have concerns about Urban Meyer changing the culture in Jacksonville to go along with changing the team, I'm not worried about that, Robert Saleh, because I agree with you. He is going to go in there and change the culture 100%. What I'm worried about Robert Saleh, at least Urban Meyer has some talent. At least he has Trevor incoming.
At least he doesn't have a 43-year-old running back.
At least, exactly. At least he has Trevor incoming. At least he has, DJ Chark on the receiver side. At least he has James Robinson. Those are 3 positions where it's like, oh, we need another receiver. Okay, let's see who we can get in free agency. Let's see who we can pick up. We need defensive players. Okay, let's see free agency. Let's see the draft. We all know the Jets are going to go. The Jaguars are going to go defensive heavy in the draft after Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
They have to. It's an obvious thing. But my concern about Robert Saleh is, look, man.
He has Mekhi Becton.
You coached.
That's it.
You coached extremely, extremely talented defensive players. Like you mentioned, Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, DeForest Buckner, Quan Alexander, Richard Sherman.
We can even go back to where he was with Seattle in those early 2010s, like the first few years of Legion of Boom. He was there from 2011 to 2013 as an assistant.
Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor,
he's seen it all.
He's coached talent. He doesn't have that here. I'm not trying to put him down. I'm not trying to be disrespectful and say, can he transform some of these guys? Oh, absolutely. I agree. He can transform some of these guys. But my issue is he just doesn't have the talent. He doesn't have it. Who is your best receiver? Jamison Crowder? I mean, look, man, no disrespect to Jamison Crowder because he is a good receiver, but Jamison Crowder is not a number 1 receiver.
I mean, your next best option is Denzel Mims, but he needs a lot of work.
He needs a lot of development, a lot of development. Braxton Berrios, great. He showed a lot of potential. He to me, he kind of he could look like a new Cole Beasley in the slot, because he has the talent. Mm-hmm. I like Braxton Berrios, but you need a whole wide receiver core. You need a running back, man. You need a running back. Come on. I feel bad because I don't remember the name of the guy, the rookie that came in this year.
Oh man, is it Eno Smith?
No, Eno Smith is with I believe Arizona.
No,
But
that's Eno Benjamin.
oh, Benjamin. Okay,
Yeah.
no, it was something Johnson. Ty Johnson,
Oh,
was
I'm
that his
thinking
name?
Eno Smith with. Okay, hold up, man. This is the problem. We don't even know their roster
Yeah, I know. Who is that rookie running back with the Jets? That
because he had that good game against the Rams.
He showed promise. He showed promise this season.
Ty Johnson. There you go.
Okay, so I was right. Ty Johnson. Okay, so Ty Johnson showed potential, and if Robert Saleh can develop him with his running backs coach, that's great. Give him the chance, give him the opportunity this season. But please to God, maybe think about a running back in this draft, please.
You have to.
Please, because my lord, now, like you mentioned, he has Mekhi Becton. Great. You know who else is in the draft that would be wonderful?
Guy on the opposite side.
Exactly. Can you imagine Mekhi Becton and Penei Sewell on the other side? Ooh, that is so good, so good. And then the defense. I trust he's gonna fix the defense. It's Robert Saleh. Come on. But now the biggest question mark, and I feel like the first thing he's gonna have to address, and this will be my last point, so we move on to the next one. What to do with Sam Darnold? In our opinion, because we both share the same opinion on this, we said it multiple times, Sam Darnold needs to be given at least one more chance.
Mm-hmm.
At least one more chance.
It's not my favorite thing in the world, but I understand why.
No, I agree. But he needs to be given at least one more chance with this Jets team. And what is the perfect way to give him that one more chance? Drafting Penei Sewell. You have Mekhi Becton that, when healthy, was dominating this season. Dominating. Sam Darnold did not have to worry about a single thing about the right side of his line. But that left side, that left end, no. If he has these two big, beefy guys just protecting him, maybe the Jets can look in the second round for maybe a guard, a left guard, a right guard, maybe a center, whatever, doesn't matter. But he needs it. He needs the talent. He needs the offensive line talent, and he needs at least a go-to receiver. Because I don't know, this is a very small example, but we've seen this from Sam Darnold before. Sam Darnold is extremely talented. He just needs the help. He needs the development. There was this one throw that Sam Darnold made this season where if Patrick Mahomes would have done it, it would have been on the front page of SportsCenter. It would have been on Twitter. It would have been on Instagram, everywhere. But because it was Sam Darnold, it was, oh, look what Sam Darnold did. 15K likes. That's it. Sam Darnold has the talent. He just needs the support. So that's why I'm saying, to end it off, to end the Jets' point off, Sam Darnold, draft Penei Sewell, give him one more year, go get him a competent wide receiver. If you want to keep Jamison Crowder, fine, go for it. But make him wide receiver number 2. Go get a wide receiver number 1. Will Fuller. Go get him a competent wide receiver. And let Ty Johnson have a chance. He showed some improvement. But I think that's my biggest thing about Robert Saleh is that I have complete faith in the culture change. But that talent is what he needs to focus on. He needs the talent.
Worst case scenario, it's Matt Patricia. Like that's what it is.
Don't bring that up.
Well, I mean, we're talking about the same scenario, right? It's like a defensive mind that's finally getting a chance to be a head coach. If he can bring a culture change, he has some players to work with, but not a lot. You got to rebuild that. That's Detroit. And you have a front office that is just atrocious. So it could be worst case scenario, Matt Patricia. Best case scenario for me is to look back at Todd Bowles, who was a defensive mind, who still is, and took over a Jets team that just had nothing, absolutely nothing. And he made it he had one winning season there, but the other ones were like 5-11, 4-12.
So there was one season where Todd Bowles had a 6-10 Jets team, but it was a very, very competitive
Like
6-10
that's
Jets
what I'm
team.
saying. It's like
Yeah.
if you make them competitive for all 16 games and you fall short in a lot of them, I feel like Todd Bowles was taken out of New York a little bit too early. Like there was something there, but I can understand why you let him go. I thought Todd Bowles was a good head coach for the Jets at that time. Like it could have been worse. It could have been not a lot better because no one wants to go to the Jets. I feel like now it's like, oh, okay, people may consider the Jets a lot more than a few years ago. And if you have a defensive mind, Todd Bowles, Robert Saleh, I'm like, there's something there where I'm like, okay, I would like Robert Saleh just as the culture changer and a more emotional or more emotionally invested coach
Yeah.
than a 5-11 season based on going 2-14 this season. I'll take that as a win. I'm taking it as a
for
win.
sure.
I'm not taking that as like, oh God, here we go again. We got to look for a new coach. No. Then you look at the performance of Sam Darnold and then go into next season saying, all right, 1 year in, progress. We won 3 more games.
I feel like this season is going to be a complete test for Robert Saleh, and then the next season, you know, when they load up on the draft this year, and then when they load up on next year's draft and some free agents, because I believe the Jets are one of the teams that have a lot of market space. Am I right about that?
Like salary cap wise, yes.
Yeah, salary cap.
They
Yeah,
have
so
a solid amount.
them and Jacksonville are like the top 2 teams that they can go out and make some splashes this free agency.
Yeah.
So this year's a test year, but the second year could be a lot of signs of improvement. So I love this hire. I feel like the exact opposite happened when we were talking. You know, I'm worried about Urban.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Urban Meyer and that culture change. I'm not worried about Robert Saleh with the culture change. I'm just worried about the talent. While I'm not worried about Urban Meyer with the talent. So
exactly. Yeah.
It's completely different situations, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So, not a head coach hiring, but a good segue too, because you just talked about the personnel and having to improve on that in order for this to succeed. Well, that's the case in Dallas as the new defensive coordinator is Dan Quinn, former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, along with the hiring of Joe Witt Jr., who was the passing game coordinator and secondary coach in Atlanta with Dan Quinn. He is the new secondary coach and passing game coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. And Mike Nolan's gone. Jim Tomsula was gone, which actually surprised me, considering that I loved Jim Tomsula being hired more than Mike Nolan at the time. But look, we both agree on this, and I think we're pretty short on why this is going to be good or bad. Because just the relationships that Mike McCarthy has with Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. I mean, Joe Witt Jr. won that Super Bowl with Green Bay and Mike McCarthy in 2010. Dan Quinn, Mike McCarthy have a strong relationship with each other. And pretty much anybody that was interviewed for this job had close ties with Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Same thing with Mike Nolan. Didn't really work out. But look, the only thing with this move is that when it happened with Dan Quinn, it was immediately like, oh my God, what are the Cowboys doing? Are you kidding me? Dan Quinn, Atlanta Falcons? And I'm like, so who do you want? Like, who is a perfect defensive coordinator? Because all of these great defensive coordinators around the league are going to get head coaching jobs. They're not going to stick with another defensive coordinator job. It's either somebody that's an assistant or that was somebody from another team. Like Dom Capers was another good one, in my opinion, to consider because of the Green Bay ties with Mike McCarthy back in the day. And I think he's a good defensive coordinator. But even then, I guarantee you it would have been like, why? Oh my God, Mike McCarthy's guy. This didn't work out the first time. It's like, so who? Who is your great scenario? Because I think it was either George Edwards that has worked with Mike McCarthy in the past. People love him around the league as a defensive mind. He got interviewed for this job, so they gave him a chance. Dan Quinn was a far second for me, but I still felt like as a second, it was a good indication because of his ties with the Legion of Boom, because of his ties in previous jobs.
Yes.
What do you want? Right? Like, what do you want? Look, the only way that this doesn't work, it's not because of Dan Quinn and his scheme. That's not the problem. Look, Mike Nolan's scheme was pretty bad. It was hard to learn for a lot of these players. But there's also got to be some responsibility on the players to learn the scheme, even if it is hard. Look, Lane Vander Esch, you got drafted in the first fucking round. And you're telling me that you couldn't learn the Mike Nolan system? First round pick Out of Boise State, Dallas Cowboys love Boise State guys.
I absolutely love Boise State. It's crazy.
How does that relationship not work? Well, now you get your in between of like Dan Quinn, who I get it. Look, their defense and especially their secondary were terrible last year. But let's not forget that this guy went to a Super Bowl. 28-3, they blew the lead. I get that. They made the Super Bowl because of Dan Quinn and their team. Can the Cowboys talk about making a Super Bowl? Not for the last 25 years. So tell me how you can talk about making the Super Bowl and choking about Dan Quinn and hating the hire when we can't even get past our own division.
Yeah. So my biggest thing about this hiring, and I told you this before the podcast, you know, I agree with you that, you know, the whole thing about Dan Quinn, I feel like this scenario with Dan Quinn is not going to be 100% on him. There's going to be a lot of player responsibility, and in this case, front office responsibility. What do I mean by front office responsibility? Dan Quinn will not succeed in Dallas if he does not have the talent. He doesn't.
If you're going to give Jalen Smith a high-paying contract, that may not seem like a lot right now, but in the time of that extension was the worst thing to do because you still had to sign Dak Prescott and you just gave a lot of money to Ezekiel Elliott. Like, Jalen Smith can't be a high priority.
No.
And if you think that he's a high priority, you got your assumptions wrong because the only players that I'm excited to see next year, Neville Gallimore.
He came out.
Loved Neville Gallimore. He played hard. Donovan Wilson.
And he came out the last 3 games, yeah.
And Trevon Diggs. 3 out of 11 players on that defense showed me that, okay, we'll have them next year. Other than that, I'm like, who do you want? I don't want any of those guys.
So the thing about this point that I'm going to make is this. So very similar situation to Robert Saleh, right? Dan Quinn coached monster players, absolutely monster players. Dan Quinn was an essential part of the Legion of Boom. He had Earl Thomas. He had Cam Chancellor, Bobby Wagner, Bruce Irwin, Richard Sherman. You know, he had Byron Maxwell before his fall of grace. We all know what happened with him. But he coached absolute studs of defensive players in Seattle. He came to Atlanta. His first 2 seasons, the defense was pretty good. Pretty damn good. But what happened? Atlanta's defense started aging. They started leaving. How are you supposed to be good when you don't have the talent anymore? You know? Mm-hmm. So now we're switching over to Dallas, right? I agree with you. Donovan Wilson, surprise of the season, in my opinion. My God, last 4 games he came out of nowhere and was balling. He was balling. Neville Gallimore, I love him. He played absolutely hard. He came in and took Dontari Post's spot, and he killed it. Absolutely killed it. Trevon Diggs had some up and downs this season, but he showed flashes of being a great future corner. DeMarcus Lawrence, say what you want about DeMarcus Lawrence. I know your viewpoint on him, but
same old DeMarcus Lawrence.
Same old productive DeMarcus Lawrence. Was he on top of the sack category? No. That's not what him. That's what he's paid to. If you want to make the argument, that's what he's paid to do. Okay, fine. I get it. He's a defensive end. I get it. I'm not dumb. But same old DeMarcus Lawrence of causing pressure, rushing the quarterback effectively. That's what he's there for. Leighton Vander Esch, I don't know what to think about him anymore because he had a rough season with injury. He came back. He wasn't playing 100%. He felt he was playing bothered. That's how I saw him this season.
He's playing like Sean Lee.
Yeah, and it sucks. I don't like making that comparison, but it's sadly true.
It's the hard truth because I said it when he got drafted. So if we're really being honest, how about Sean Lee for linebackers coach? Thoughts?
I would love that.
Let's just start it. Let's just start it fresh with Dan Quinn in that defense. Hey, how about you have a genius at that position for Sean Lee that his body can't do it anymore, but his mind is sharper than anybody in this room. How about that?
Sure.
So
for sure.
Like I get it. Like your personnel is going to be not 50-50. Dan Quinn is got to be 40% of why this team is succeeding, and then 60% is what's on the field.
Yes.
Because even like Rod Marinelli as their defensive coordinator did okay. I mean, he gave them the most basic scheme out of anybody in the league. Most basic, like tackle, just get to the ball, like easy stuff, just tackle and don't give up the big play.
Yeah.
The personnel couldn't do that. Okay, let's get a little harder with some more talented players. They can't learn it at all, and our defense is getting worse by the week. Okay,
Yeah.
we've tried both just extremes. We've tried it all. Let's find a middle ground. Dan Quinn is going to give you a nice but nice, like, subtle system. Good coaching, now that we've learned from our mistakes. A lot of those guys are going to be gone. Like, I'm not keeping Anthony Brown. I'm not keeping Chidobe Awuzie.
No.
I'm not keeping... If I can trade Jalen Smith, I would. But I'm not keeping a lot of those guys. Like, I wouldn't keep Aldon Smith. In my personal opinion, I don't think we keep Aldon Smith.
I'll get to them in a bit.
But that's the whole idea, is that whoever comes in, whether it's the new guys, whether it's the old guys, this is your system. If you don't learn it, you're out. This is it.
Okay, so you are perfectly segueing into my point. I mentioned all the players that I love this season and that I think they could.
We can name every player and say yes or no, but
there's one player I want to mention because he surprised me these last couple games. Randy Gregory showed some great speed coming off the line these last couple games.
Yes.
So I would like to see what happened. Now, the perfect segue, as I said. There are many players on this Dallas Cowboys defense, and in my opinion, this is their test year. If they don't show improvement later, I want you out of here.
Mm-hmm.
First one, and I absolutely hate to say it because I love him so much. You know how much I love him. Jalen Smith, if you don't do something this year, sorry, man, you're out. I mean, look, I love you.
No more swiping.
Yeah, no more swiping. Look, I love you. I love your story. I loved how you played the first 2 seasons. The first 2 seasons, you deserve that contract, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, oh my God, man, what happened?
Now you're just getting emotionally attached to this player, which is the last thing you want to do in the NFL. It's a business.
Do you remember when NFL teams were looking at the Cowboys because they wanted to get a linebacker duo like Leighton and Jalen?
Yep.
Because they were flying. They were flying everywhere. It was insane. Now, like I said, I don't know about Leighton because Leighton could still be great. He just had an injury season, so we'll see. But Jalen, you got to step it up, man. Your film this season, oh God. Oh my Lord.
You like how he said that like when they asked him how the Cowboys defense was criticized.
It's on the film.
He's like, watch the film. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I've been watching the film.
Yeah, Jalen, I love you, man. I mean, no disrespect. I love you so much, but that film is just bad.
There's got to be a time where you don't get the treatment of like Des Bryant. Like that's the problem with this team is that they're getting the Des Bryant treatment of like, we know you're falling, like you're not the same guy, but we love you so much here. You sell a lot of jerseys. The people love you in the community. We'll give you one more chance, okay? Jason Garrett got like 5.
Well, yeah. But I think Jalen, this is your last year, your test year. Other player, Xavier Woods. Look,
No.
Stop. No. Hold on. Xavier Woods showed promise 2 years ago. 2 years ago, he showed promise. And coming into this season, you cannot tell me that you were on my side with this. We were both excited for Xavier Woods this season.
I was excited, and then we saw him play.
Yes, I know. I understand. But who else are you going to get? Donovan Wilson? Okay, great. Donovan Wilson, great. You cannot sit here and tell me that Darian Thompson is a better choice.
No.
Okay, there we go. So that's what I'm saying.
But
we'll see what happens.
It's not Xavier Woods. It can't be Xavier Woods.
It's not Darian Thompson.
So then we get someone in the draft or someone in free agency. I think in free agency, it won't be another Clinton Dix situation where the guy can't even make the roster. Anybody. I mean, like Dan Quinn has to know somebody, or Joe Wood Jr. has to know somebody that wants to come to Dallas. whether that's Earl Thomas or that's another guy in free agency. Just get rid of both of those guys, Darian Thompson and Xavier Woods. Just start fresh and keep Donovan Wilson.
Well, if it doesn't happen,
Reggie Robinson. Yeah,
yeah, maybe
Reggie Robinson.
If it doesn't happen, this is last year. Last player. I think we both agree on this one. Both corners, Chidobe and Anthony Brown. I want them out of here.
Adam.
I want them out of here.
I'll let you finish. Go.
Well, I was gonna say, if you are so insistent on keeping at least one of them there, at least for some whatever reason, fine, Chidobe, I guess. But
I would honestly think Anthony Brown deserves a job before Chidobe, but it's not good. Like it's not good. It's not. I think Jordan Lewis is the only guy that comes back next year because he did play hard in those last few games.
Yes.
Now he's an idiot for getting fined on that headbutt in the last game, literally in the first drive that really set the tone early. That was a dumbass play, but he has something. He has something that I don't see in Chidobe or in Anthony Brown.
Or no.
So I'm saying if there's one guy you're keeping, of course it's Trevon, but it's also Jordan Lewis.
Yeah.
And just make it his last year. Make it just okay, if you don't play good, get him out of here. You do have, maybe if he wants to come back, Gerald McCoy.
He is coming back.
Hopefully. It's not for sure yet, but he does want to, and it's mutually agreed that they want to, but they got to get the deal done. And Maurice Kennedy, is he going to opt in this next year?
Oh, that's right. He opted out.
Because analytically, he's a Mike McCarthy guy that can fit into the system nicely. Now, that was with Mike Nolan, but I'm pretty sure he could fit nicely in Dan Quinn. So if you have Kennedy come in, okay, it's a good depth guy. We're not desperate. Richard Sherman sounds pretty good right now.
Dude, honestly, at this point, why not?
Well, you got the tie with the Legion of Boom and Dan Quinn.
Why not?
Perfect, right? And you bring in a veteran that can let Trevon Diggs learn from for the future. Even if it's for a year, I think Richard Sherman is a boost. Even with a bum leg, he's better than Chidobe Awuzie or Anthony Brown.
So this brings me to my last point before we go on to the final coach that I really, really want to talk about. Dan Quinn. Hey, Dan. Go whisper in Mike's ear real quick. You know, just while he's taking a nap in his chair in his office. Just go whisper in his ear. Patrick Surtain.
I mean, yeah.
Patrick Surtain.
You have to.
You will draft Patrick Surtain. I mean, come on, dude. Patrick Surtain should be the obvious choice here. Yes. Obvious.
I thought you were going to say watermelons for the whisper.
Oh.
Because I feel like Mike McCarthy's grown to love watermelons in some way.
But it worked.
It worked.
It worked.
Look, man, it works. Look, Patrick played well in the national championship.
He did.
I like him. I don't love him. And number 10 overall for a cornerback like him, who's not CJ Henderson from last year, that's not like the stud, like, cornerback of the draft. It kind of worries me, but at number 10, what other choice do you have?
What I think is so good about this pick, and I'll say it really quick. There tends to be a trend where when college teammates play together, for some whatever reason, it just works out. It works out. And they get each other hyped up. You know, they want to be together. They want to learn together. Putting Trevon and Patrick together again as 1 and 2, or if we get another corner in free agency, 1, 2, 3, so both of them can learn off the veteran, I think it'd be great. It would be perfect. Like you just said, we both agree on this. At number 10 overall, who else? Who else but Patrick Surtain? Who else, dude? He is our best available option. He is a great cornerback. He has shown extreme promise. I think it's obvious. The perfect way to start off Dan Quinn's tenure. Well, hopefully tenure in Dallas, getting Patrick. Getting a great talent that can fit in your defense. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that at all. I think that is the move that has to be done. And if I look, I mean, I got to watch film on a lot of these college guys because I've been slacking it. But as soon as the Super Bowl's over, I'm going straight to work. I want to watch more film on him to just decide whether or not like that's the definite decision for them. But right now, just looking at it, no one else.
Because look, it's either him or Mekhi Parsons from Penn State. And
no, I'm not taking a linebacker like that 10th overall when I took at 18 overall Lane Vander Esch a few years ago.
I completely agree with you. But when it comes to Cowboys needs, it's either Patrick or Mekhi Parsons. And as of right now, I am not on board with Mekhi Parsons, in my personal opinion. If we had the 18th pick again, sure. Yeah, why not? But at 10, it has to be Patrick.
Yeah. We'll see. I like the move, but it's got to be a collective contribution out of everybody. It can't just be Dan Quinn.
You have to give him talent.
Yeah. Well, there's actually 2 more coaches that we need to talk about, but we're really long on time. Real quick, Doug Peterson.
It's so simple to talk about this guy.
If it wasn't for Week 17, I think this would have happened later. I don't know how much longer later, but Week 17 just opened the floodgates of what is completely wrong with his organization that's not going to be able to pay anybody next year. They don't know for sure if their quarterback is their quarterback next year. And, I mean, that front office just wants to take control of everything. They're literally a Philadelphia version of Dallas. And Doug Peterson was fed up. Like, he got him a Super Bowl. Congratulations. But I think that window of winning shut down on their hands. Like, they shut down right on the fingers. It's not a happy ending.
All I'm going to say about Doug Peterson, so we move on to the next one, because the last one's very interesting. All I'm going to say about Doug Peterson, you put your own nail in your own coffin, Week 17.
Yeah.
I know the Philadelphia Eagles are an absolute train wreck of an organization right now. In my opinion, they don't have anybody on their defense besides Fletcher Cox that is good enough to be on that defense, in my personal opinion.
Oh, well, I would disagree with that.
If you say Avonte Maddox, I am leaving the team right now.
Who was the guy? Michael Jaquette?
Oh God. God.
Hey, Michael Gallup could have had more yards, just saying. No, Derek Barnett is also a fantastic player.
I'm sorry. How disrespectful of me. Yes, Derek Barnett is very, very good. Texas boy, by the way.
Of course he is. Of course.
Go Horns. Go Horns.
You lost me.
Yeah, shut up. So, yes, besides those two, that defense is an absolute shambles. My God, please do something. Darius Slay is an absolute wheelchair machine. Poor guy. My God.
Come on, man. I like Darius Slay.
I love him.
I thought that was one of the biggest moves that offseason. Like last season, I thought that was one of the biggest moves. I love the move for him to go from Detroit to Philly.
I love Darius Slay. I thought he was going to be great, but he's so injury prone.
He's a wheelchair machine.
Poor guy. Anyway, but besides that, and then like you said, your offense. I mean, look. Doug, if you wanted to get out, congratulations. You did what you wanted to do. Yep. Great job. But
who can save the day, Kevin?
Oh God.
Say it with me. We just talked about it before the podcast. Come on, this is your cue, buddy. Adam Gase.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so I read the report, and I told you before the podcast. I read the report that the Philadelphia Eagles are wanting to interview Adam Gase because, quote unquote, Howie Roseman likes how he developed Peyton Manning. That's your only reason? Forget about the defense, my God. But that's your reasoning?
Hey, it's Peyton Manning. Forget everything that happened with Ryan Tannehill in Miami. What happened with everybody in Miami. What happened in New York. Everything that happened in New York. He developed Peyton Manning.
I hate the Eagles in general, but I'm just starting to feel bad for them without bum ass organization they are, dude.
I mean, they're getting to the point to where like they're trying to be a homewrecker and go for Kellen Moore, who just signed an extension with the Cowboys for their offensive coordinator. They wanted to interview him.
Bum organization. Oh well, it is what it is.
It's not going well. But I think Adam Gase can develop whoever the quarterback is. Nate Sudfeld could be Nate Sudfeld. Just saying.
Yeah, man.
By the way, I never talked about it when we were talking about Jacksonville, but because I told you before the podcast, like you'll never guess who they want as their offensive coordinator.
Oh, that's right.
Apparently, since they have the ties and their first stint in the NFL, Urban Meyer wants to interview. You ready for this? Scott Linehan as their offensive coordinator in Jacksonville.
I don't have anything to say about that. I don't. I don't.
The wheeling dealing Scott Linehan.
I don't want to say anything about that personally. I'm
The
not gonna lie to
run
you.
on 2nd and 14, Scott Linehan.
The run pass Scott Linehan. Yeah.
The run pass.
Yeah. I don't have anything to say about that. Let's move on to the better offensive coordinator that should be a head coach soon, hopefully.
Last one. We'll make it short because it's probably going to be a while till we figure out who he's going to because they're still in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's not much that can be said about him so far. Just that we hope he gets a job because he deserves one.
Yes, it's been a long time coming. Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, just recently interviewed for the Houston Texans job, which ultimately means they're trying to not let Deshaun Watson walk. And that was the only way to do it, was for him to actually get his request in about who should be the head coach. Eric Bieniemy. I think in any flourishing offense that has potential, whether that's Houston, with Deshaun Watson, it'll work. Los Angeles with the Chargers makes a whole lot of sense for me. Now with the Jets and the Jaguars job gone, it's now left to Detroit, Atlanta, Houston, and LA.
Yes.
I think that's all of them for now. For me, I'm not even touching Houston. I'm sorry, Deshaun. I'm literally calling him up at like 4 a.m. I'm like, hey, Deshaun. Hey, buddy. Look, it's not you.
Oh, God.
It's not you. It's your boss. It's all your bosses, really. It's a guy that's like a minister or a pastor at some church, and he's just feeding BS to everybody, and somehow he manages a football team.
Yeah.
Who let Bill O'Brien, who is the new offensive coordinator for the Alabama Crimson Tide, can you believe that, man? This is a joke. You go from just completely ruining a Houston Texans organization for the next, I'd say, 10 years at least.
You could make the argument, yeah.
He committed murder in Houston, walks away, slap on the wrist, says, get out of here. You've done your part. Oh, you're going to give me one of the best jobs in college football? I'm going to get 5-star recruits. I'm getting a Najee Harris every year. I'm getting the next great wide receiver, and then the next great wide receiver, and then the next great as our third string wide receiver every year? Me, Bill O'Brien? Oh, thank you, sir. I deserve it.
Wait. Okay, hold on. I did not know this.
You didn't know that?
I love college football, but this season I wasn't really that into it. Anyway.
Excuse me, sir. Aren't you a Texas fan?
Yes, hold on. So you're telling me
there's no excuse
that Nick Saban let Steve Sarkisian walk to Texas, go Horns, to Texas, and this man is letting a murderer handle his players?
Well, I mean, it's college football. Like, you have to show up. That's all you got to do. You can take a job in the middle of the season, and then you just, like, put in a pro-style offense because you're going to have a Mac Jones every year who doesn't have to do much at quarterback, and you'll have a running back that can go for, like, 50 touchdowns. You just have to show up and make a basic play happen because your offensive line is going to do all the work. You're going to have a guy that can run a 4-1. You think Bill O'Brien's going to screw that up?
Nick Saban, you good?
No, it's a good move. It makes sense because Bill O'Brien's probably one of those guys that we talked about is not meant to be a head coach or a GM for that matter, but he's probably a good coordinator. That's all he'll live up to be.
Well, we'll see, but we'll see. But
Alabama can plug in anybody and they'll win a championship.
You're not wrong, but I'm very excited to see Steve Sarkisian as Texas head coach. We'll see what they get.
Hey, maybe you win something.
Yeah, please. For once, I'm tired of winning the Valero Alamo Bowl every freaking year.
Shouldn't be a bowl. Shouldn't be a bowl.
God,
Why
man.
is a non-Texas team playing the Alabama Bowl or
I
Alamo
don't
Bowl?
know. I don't know. I was confused when I saw that too, like because it was Colorado this season, it was Utah last season. Oh no, I'm sorry, it was Georgia last season. That was the big one that I couldn't believe we won.
Georgia lol.
Yeah, I couldn't believe we beat Georgia last season, and then the year before that it was Utah. So I think Texas has won like the last 4 Valero Alamo Bowls.
I want to just look up to see what is the worst bowl game name.
The
Like-
Boca Raton Bowl. I don't know.
Jesus, that one's bad.
Yeah.
At number 61 out of 63, the Texas Bowl, Alamo Bowl's pretty much there.
Yeah.
I like the Fiesta Bowl. I think that's a cool name for a bowl.
The Fiesta Bowl? Why not? What the hell?
There's some bad ones. I remember seeing like a Dubai Bowl. I was like, what? Oh, they changed the Sun Bowl to the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I didn't know that because I don't
Yeah.
care.
I don't care either. Yeah, but well, anyway, back to the main point. I'm excited.
Go ahead. I'm keep looking.
Hopefully, Steve Sarkisian can do better than Tom Herman. I feel like Tom Herman was that like, oh yeah, I'm gonna win you guys like 6 games, 6-7 games, but in college football it's not enough. So we'll see what Steve Sarkisian does.
Back to Eric Bieniemy, right?
Yes, Eric Bieniemy will save Deshaun Watson from not leaving, but
There's only so much you can do, right?
I think Eric Bieniemy sounds nice in sunny LA, don't you think?
I think it just makes sense, right?
It makes so much sense. He has the future Justin Herbert. He has Austin Eckler that apparently is an absolute monster, can repair a whole torn ligament in only 2 months. Wow. Amazing. You have Keenan Allen, who in my opinion is one of the most underrated elite wide receivers in the NFL.
True.
You have a defense that's like they could be
They're
good.
right there, right?
They could
They're
be
right
good.
there.
But you know, poor Derwin James, man. He's so injury prone, unfortunately. They're right there. They have Melvin Ingram. They're right there. So it's like, Eric, come on in, man.
And if you win half of the games that you lost by 1 possession or less, you're a winning football team.
Yes.
You are
Yes.
a playoff team. And you got rid of the one problem that you had, which was execution and discipline in Anthony Lynn.
Yes.
So if you put in a really, really talented offensive mind that will make that offense even better in Eric Bieniemy, he's going to bring a staff under that Andy Reid tree that's been known for some really good coaches. I think he comes from the Mike Holmgren tree. I might be wrong on that, but I think
Eric Bieniemy?
because he comes from Andy Reid, and Andy Reid comes from Mike Holmgren.
Yes, Andy Reid comes from Mike Holmgren.
Yes. So that's the only coaching tree really in NFL history that has had the success. And I feel like Eric Bieniemy is the next branch on that tree.
Yeah.
And if he goes to LA, I think that's the best thing for him.
I think LA is the perfect fit. I think Houston is a good fit, but do you want to work for an organization that in LA that wants to win? You know they want to win. Or do you want to work for Houston that's like,
Well, they don't even know how to like organize their files in the
oh,
office.
oh yeah, let me trade away DeAndre. Huh? Who approved that? Isn't there a board that can like veto a general manager? Who let that happen?
No, I think it ultimately landed on Bill O'Brien to make that decision. What's funny is that Deshaun Watson came out and said that he was not as angry
not that upset. Yeah.
about the DeAndre Hopkins trade, which really shocked me because I'm like, you're trading away the best receiver in the league, and I'm the quarterback. I throw to that guy. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. But then he was more upset about not having more of a say in the GM position and the fact that they didn't interview Eric Bieniemy. Like, he was more upset about that. I'm like, that's pretty shocking considering, like, I mean, this guy is just one in a million. I mean, he's such a natural-born leader.
Deshaun Watson is... I want to tread lightly on how I say this, but talent-wise, Deshaun Watson is almost at the same level as Aaron Rodgers in talent. He is just amazing.
He can take over a game.
He's amazing. Tell me a quarterback that led the league in passing yards with almost no help. Almost no help.
I mean, you could say Tom Brady for a lot of years, but I don't think he ever led in passing yards.
No. He 4,800 yards, almost 5K. I love Will Fuller, but Will Fuller and Kiki QT? Oh,
I love QT. But
I know you love
I understand
him.
what you're saying. And honestly, you can even think about it this way, is that Deshaun Watson for probably half the season, considering that first month of the season was the worst schedule in football, and then those other weeks that you're just waiting for Bill O'Brien to leave. Like, that first 6-8 games, it was bad, and he did not play well.
And then Roman Cornell comes in and he plays great.
And then those last 8 games, he turned it on.
Yeah.
So, look, man, it's not something that can be fixed overnight. And
Absolutely not.
I think the move that's going to happen is Eric Bieniemy to Houston.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he wants to work with Deshaun Watson and build them up even more in that offense. It's the smart decision to go with LA. It has to be.
It is. It's perfect. It fits perfectly.
So, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a while since the Chiefs are still in the playoffs, and they're probably going to make it at least to the AFC Championship. And then he's probably going to wait another week or so to get hired. But I think Eric Bieniemy is one of those guys where I'm like, for sure, there's going to be success at some level wherever he goes. It's just a matter of what that ceiling is, and that's much smaller at Houston.
In Houston, for sure.
So,
for sure.
By the way, at number 1, according to this website, I think Banner Society, the number 1 worst bowl game name is the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl, which has been a thing since 2017. It was named the St. Pete Bowl, which I've heard before, but now it's called, once again, the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
This sounds like a frat group bought the rights for the name of that bowl.
How about, since 2017, we've seen the Cherry Bundy Tart Cherry Boca Raton Bowl.
That's what I was talking about.
Oh, you didn't mention that first part.
I didn't mention that first part, but that's what I was talking about, yeah.
What the fuck is the Tax Slayer Bowl? Like, what's enticing about Tax Slayer?
I've heard that one. No, you know which one, though? You know which bowl was actually super, super lit when it was a sponsor? The PlayStation Fiesta Bowl? Come on.
Isn't that what it's called now?
Is it?
Yes, because it used to be the Tostino's Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
Tostino's Fiesta Bowl just reminds me of the Boise State Statue of Liberty play.
Oh, that game was so good. It was so good.
I still remember that day. Like, I still remember that moment. I was on my bed. I was, like, jumping on my bed. And I just see the play happen when I was like, I mean, when did this happen? Like
2008.
2008?
Yes.
Man, I thought I was much older than that. I remember watching it, and I was like, oh my God, I love Boise State. I honestly watched Boise State football for like the next 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I didn't watch college football this season because I don't know this whole
this was a bad year.
This whole COVID thing really messed everything up. But previous years, I mean, I usually always try and watch the Texas games and also the big time games at night. But Oh man.
Well, I'm sorry,
there's-
sir, but you're gonna have to watch the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl next season.
The Poinsettia Bowl. I remember that one. But the San Diego County Credit Union. Wow.
Well, now it's just called the Holiday Bowl. I think that was a good decision.
I remember the Holiday Bowl.
Well, that's what it is now.
What was it? Wasn't the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, like, wasn't it used as a semifinal a couple years ago?
In occasions, ooh, because it's definitely the Rose Bowl. Well, actually, no.
I mean, the Rose Bowl is the granddaddy of all bowls. It's never gonna get taken away.
My thing, and I know we're just wasting time at this point, but it's like the idea of having the playoff games, a bowl game as well, just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, besides that, I don't like the 14 playoff. I don't think it's right.
No.
Personally, in my opinion.
You want to watch a good video? Watch Joel Klatt, who is daddy for me. And when it comes to college football.
I like Joel Klatt.
Joel Klatt is a mastermind when it comes to college football. He went with the idea, or he formatted an idea of not 8, not 6, whatever, a 10 team bowl or a 10-team playoff or a 14-team playoff, because the first and second seeds get a bye. And I'm like,
so basically like the
yes.
NFL.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like, it makes so much sense, because my idea to it is that I know this doesn't happen every year, but my ideology of the 4th best team to the 5th best team is super close.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't like that 14.
It's so hard to judge who's the 4th and 5th best team in the country. Now, if it's, let's say, my opinion, it should be an 8-team playoff, but I know that like that's just your opinion. Agree to disagree. The 8th best team in the country to the 9th best team in the country, I could care 2 shits about. Like,
exactly.
If you're the 9th best team in the country, try better. Like, but if a Cincinnati team that won their conference wants to go up against Alabama because many years of UCF saying this is our playoff, like we won the Natty, well, okay. If UCF would have been in an 18 playoff a few years ago, they would have gotten their chance against Alabama.
Yeah.
And then if they get trounced, well, then you saw what happened. But if, like, I'm super fine with a bye for the first 2 teams that are top in the country, because, I mean, the schedule's got to get a little bit harder. Like, Alabama has to play a top 5 or a Power 5 conference team.
No, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because you can't beat like a Louisiana Tech or a Louisiana State team by 60 and then expect, oh, we did our job to get into the playoff. No, you have to beat an Ohio State. You have to beat Oregon before you even reach the playoff. That's just my opinion. So if that comes down to it, like you add on a Power 5 conference team to beat, and then you win your conference, so you automatically get a bid. And then if you do all of that, you get your 1 and 2 seeds a bye. The other ones still get in, but it's still pretty high. They get a favorable matchup. And they beat a 12 seed, I don't know, BYU. It's like, okay, at least you beat a 12 seed at BYU.
Yeah.
And then BYU goes on to play again in the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl.
Closing thought for the outro. Can we ban Notre Dame from all top 4 activities, please?
Can we ban Notre Dame, who hasn't won a freaking good bowl game in 30 years, whatever? Can we get rid of Georgia, who just always seems to be like Kirby Smart's one of the best coaches in the nation? Can't win a bowl game.
Yeah.
Oklahoma too. Like,
hey, can we get UCF their Natty Trophy?
Can we get UCF their Natty Trophy?
Natty Trophy.
Bama, we're coming.
Go Horns.
Yeah, hold on. Tell me who's your top 5 quarterbacks right now, dead or alive, huh? And how much do you care about a ring if the best player got carried by the team? Now, would you lose if it been a better draft pick?